Welcome everyone to today's webinar session. This session speaks to Nintex AI. I am Claire Williams and I'm the Vendor Alliance Manager at First Technology Digital. A few house rules. All microphones have been enabled for this session and the cameras have been disabled for the session. However, you are more than welcome to post any of your questions in the chat or in the Q&A window. The session is being recorded and will be shared with all of the attendees and those that miss it over the next few days, as well as on our YouTube page. We hope you find the session informative, and over to you, Eckhard. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. I hope you guys are ready for this journey. Just going to quickly do a round of introductions. I'm Eckhard from First Digital and I'm a Nintex specialist. And joining me I have Andre, who is a Nintex Automation K2 Solutions Architect. So let's dive into how we can reduce the digital noise and drive operational efficiency using Nintex. A mining procurement manager receives 500 supplier invoices weekly, 30% in non-standard formats, 12% missing POs. Finance spends 18 hours a week manually validating, causing payment delays and early pay discount losses. I'm sure a lot of you, as well as your customers, can relate to similar scenarios. Thank you for joining today's session. We'll be taking you through on what is available in Nintex AI today and in the near future. Let's see how can one reduce the digital document and data processing noise by showcasing what is specifically possible in the Nintex Workflow Cloud and Nintex Automation K2 platforms today. In today's reality, organizations across mining, retail, legal, insurance, and finance are overwhelmed by inbound documents and data such as invoices, approval requests, contracts, forms, and emails. These documents and data arrive in multiple formats, layouts, creating noise rather than insight. Traditional workflow route tasks effectively but treat documents as static attachments, requiring humans to manually open, read and extract data and interpret meaning. Rigid OCR struggles when document layout changes, leading to high exception rates, rework delays and compliance risk. As a result, operational teams face bottlenecks, slow cycle times, rising processing costs, and increased pressure on knowledge workers. Documents have become active participants in the process, with AI extracting key information, identifying context, and surfacing insights earlier in the workflow. Intelligent extraction works across formats and languages, reducing manual effort and exception handling. AI provides early signals such as missing data, anomalies, or compliance risks, while still keeping humans in the loop for critical decisions. This human-in-the-loop model ensures trust, transparency, and governance, with clear audit trails and explainability built into automated processes. The core challenge facing modern organization is no longer how to route work items, but how to understand document and data content accurately, quickly, and responsibly at scale. So let's have a look at the current state of workflow. Here we see a typical Nintex K2 or Nintex Workflow Cloud invoice workflow as it operates today. The process follows sequential steps, and while each of these steps is automated through the platform, which is great, the workflow as a whole still relies heavily on human involvement at critical decision points. So it begins when an invoice arrives via email, SharePoint, a shared folder, or a scan. From there, data is captured, currently through manual entry or rigid OCR templates. The system then applies rules rule-based routing to direct the invoice to the appropriate approver or department. A human reviewer steps in to validate and approve the data before it gets posted into the ERP system, and finally payment is processed. Yes, automated, yet human dependent. All of these workflows are automated through Nintex today. The routing, the notifications, the task assignment and escalations, but the process is still fundamentally dependent on the human in the loop. Someone still needs to open the document, verify the extracted data, review the transaction record, catch exceptions when OCR fails on a non-standard layout, and make a final approval call. The automation handles the orchestration, but the understanding and decision-making remains with the humans or with the people. Why does this matter? The workflow itself is solid and proven, but its limitation become clear at scale. OCR breaks when document layouts change. Manual validation creates bottlenecks. Exception rates climb, and the workflow logic does not truly understand the content of the data in its processes. It is process-driven, not content-aware. And that is the gap AI is positioned to close in the next phase in this presentation. So what is available in Nintex Workflow Cloud today with Nintex AI? AI and Nintex Workflow Cloud is not a future roadmap item. It is here right now, embedded natively into the platform. There are three core pillars of AI capability that are already available and production ready within Nintex Workflow Cloud. So the first pillar is about accelerating how workflows and forms are created in the first place. Nintex offers a workflow generator that lets you describe a process in natural language, and the platform builds the workflow for you. There is also a form generator and a translator that can create and localize forms automatically. This dramatically lowers the barrier to entry for process automation. Business users can go from idea to working workflow in minutes, not days. This is a powerful example of how generative AI is not just processing documents faster, but fundamentally changing how automation is built and deployed. The second pillar takes document and data understanding a step further. AI document processing uses native pre-trained AI models that can handle unstructured documents like invoices, contracts, purchase orders, as well as data without requiring rigid templates. This is a fundamental shift from traditional OCR, which breaks every time a document layout changes. Instead, the AI delivers deep data understanding. It reads the document the way a human would, identifying fields by context rather than by fixed position. It is secure and enterprise-grade, powered by Azure OpenAI integration, so data governance and compliance are built in from the start. If we have a look at the third pillar, this is AI Actions, which is Nintex intelligent document processing capability. That is where drag and drop no-code actions that you place directly into a workflow. They allow you to extract text from documents and images, pull out specific fields like vendor names, total and date, summarize large documents, detect language, translate content, and even analyze sentiment. And they can essentially guide your process better. So if they know the data, they're context aware, they can assist the human in the loop making decisions. These are not bolt-on integrations. They are native actions within the workflow designer, accessible to any citizen developer without writing a single line of code. These capabilities are available today, out of the box, within Nintex Workflow Cloud. Organizations do not need to wait for a future release or invest in separate AI tooling. They can start leveraging intelligent document processing, deep data understanding, and generative AI builders right now to reduce manual effort, improve accuracy, and accelerate the time from process idea to live automation. And all of this is low code, drag and drop. Essentially, don't have to write any code. So let's have a look at a actual workflow that is a use case that is common in most organizations. So here we have a simple access request. So a request is accessed, logged via the web. A workflow is kicked off. Data is reviewed by the human in the loop, and we simply plug in AI to have a look at the request to see, okay, how does this request look like? So I can offload knowledge to the AI and prompt it, and I can even go further and build the prompt per system. So how does this look? So here we can see we plug in the AI to assist the workflow. So it doesn't drive the workflow. Essentially, it looks at the request, and then within its prompt, it will evaluate the request and see, well, did the user actually request properly, or it's just a random statement like, I need access to some system. AI will then basically use the prompt, reach out. In this case, we plug in Gemini Pro for this, and we give it a dynamic prompt to say, for this system, evaluate this request and give us a score. If the score is greater than 80%, that means it's kind of like spam. It will evaluate, and the process will assist the user in to say, listen, if this score is greater than 80%, I'll send a recommendation, I'll reject this, I'll audit it, and I send back to the user, it's like, please supply more efficient request or a better request with a recommendation. So for instance, if you request access to a shared Azure subscription, make sure you supply the necessary resource group, the necessary permissions, and also request why you're doing it by specifying maybe your project that you're working on, so that the AIs also can become context aware on where this request comes from. So this is a very straightforward use case that we implement. And as we can see here, we essentially plug it into a paid subscription, and there's a prompt. This is a generic prompt. This is essentially specifically to our business units, and we typically have a lot of consultants that shift between projects, between project teams, and the project teams, they basically either develop on Nintex Workflow Cloud, or they might need access to a K2 development server or a QA server within the team, and then the AI can basically provision this user onto these platforms. All right, that is essentially what we have in Nintex Workflow Cloud currently, as well as the embedded AI that is now accessible. This example here is essentially reaching out to a cloud service, but this can be also replaced by Nintex Workflow Cloud's own AI actions, where you can basically inject all of this functionality. Instead of reaching out to the cloud, you can basically keep it within the Nintex Workflow Cloud hosting environment. So now we go over to the Nintex K2, and I just want to quickly run over to a couple of key distinctions before I hand over to Andre. So the first key distinctions on Nintex Workflow Cloud versus Nintex K2. So Nintex Workflow Cloud is essentially cloud first. So, and it has built-in AI assisted content understanding, meaning it can basically assist you building your workflows, it can assist you building your forms, plus you can actually use the built-in AI to do some analysis around the data. When I hand over to Nintex K2, that is more enterprise controlled. It is more for your on-prem hybrid environments. And this is where I would like to introduce Andre to take us through on what is available in Nintex K2.
Yes, thank you, Eckert. Could you please click once again, just to display the third part as well on this slide? Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. Good morning. My name is Andrei Kholenov. I'm Senior Solution Engineer at Nintex. And I would also like maybe to give a very short introduction on this slide. So before we dive into specific K2 intelligence capabilities and use cases, I'd like to spend maybe a few minutes explaining what K2 intelligence is and why Nintex introduced it. So when people hear the term AI, they often think about external AI services, cloud-hosted language models, or integrations with third-party platforms. And while those approaches certainly have their place, many enterprise organizations face a different challenge. They actually need AI capabilities, but they also need control. They need to know where their data is processed, how decisions are made, and how AI fits within their governance and security frameworks. And this is exactly where K2 Intelligence comes in. K2 Intelligence is Nintex built-in AI engine for Nintex Automation K2. So rather than relying entirely on external AI services, K2 Intelligence brings AI capabilities directly into the K2 platform itself. And the AI engine can run within the customer's environment, eliminating the need to send sensitive information to external services and helping organizations to address data sovereignty, privacy, and compliance requirements. This is particularly important for government organizations, financial organizations, healthcare providers, and other highly regulated industries where control over data is critical. And from a business perspective, K2 Intelligence extends traditional workflow automation by introducing AI-assisted decision-making. So instead of simply moving work from one person to another based on the predefined rules, workflows can now become more intelligent. For example, AI can identify anomalies, prioritize incoming work, recommend routing decisions, summarize information for users, analyze sentiment, and surface potential exceptions much earlier than traditional rule-based systems. The result is faster decision-making, reduced manual effort, and better operational visibility. It is also important to understand how K2 Intelligence complements the broader Nintex AI strategy. So, like Eckert already told us, in Nintex Workflow Cloud, AI is primarily focused on cloud-native content understanding and intelligent document processing. In K2, the focus is slightly different. K2 Intelligence is about enterprise-controlled AI and AI-augmented orchestration. The objective here is not simply to understand the content, but to enhance business processes and decision points throughout the workflow lifecycle. And the best part is that these capabilities are delivered through the same low-code experience that K2 customers already know. Business analysts and developers can leverage AI capabilities through the drag-and-drop configuration without needing to become machine learning specialists. So with that foundation in place, let's now take a closer look at how K2 Intelligence works in practice and how organizations can apply it to real business scenarios. Eckert, could you switch please to the next slide? Yes, thank you. So as we now understand, K2 Intelligence is Nintex AI-powered automation layer embedded directly into the K2 platform architecture. The key idea here is that AI is not treated as a standalone chatbot or isolated system. Sorry, Eckert, I noticed you already switched to the cases. Could you please switch one slide back? I have a delay in my screen, sorry. Yes, thank you. Thank you. The key idea here is that AI is not treated as a standalone chatbot. It becomes part of the enterprise workflow ecosystem itself. And what makes this especially important is that K2 Intelligence is integrated natively into workflows, smart forms, smart objects, integrations, and business processes. This means organizations can enrich existing automated processes with AI-driven capabilities while still preserving governance, security, and auditability. For example, AI can now help classify incoming requests, generate summaries, analyze sentiment, extract information from documents, or intelligently route tasks to the appropriate teams, all within the same governed workflow platform. Another important point is that these AI capabilities are exposed through reusable and manageable components. In K2, AI tasks can be represented through smart objects, which means they become reusable enterprise services with centralized management, permissions, a lifecycle control, and structured outputs. This is especially valuable in environments for enterprises because it allows them to adopt AI in a controlled and predictable way instead of relying on disconnected AI scripts or unmanaged external tools. From the developer perspective, K2 Intelligence also enhances the low-code experience by assisting teams with AI-powered development support and intelligent recommendations, helping to accelerate the delivery while maintaining enterprise standards. And finally, from the infrastructure and security standpoint, Nintex has designed this capability with enterprise and regulated industries in mind. The platform supports hybrid and on-premises deployment approaches, enabling organizations to maintain data sovereignty and governance requirements where needed. So this becomes particularly relevant for industries and public sector organizations that require strong compliance, monitoring, centralized administration, and secure AI adoption model. Yeah, now we can switch to the use cases. And yes. And now that one of the key strengths of K2 Intelligence is that AI capabilities are not isolated from workflows. They become embedded directly into operational business processes. On this slide, we can see 3 examples of how organizations can apply AI-powered automation across different departments and process areas. Let's start with the customer service and compliance management. Traditionally, incoming customer emails or tickets are manually reviewed and prioritized by support teams. With K2 Intelligence, AI can analyze the incoming requests in real time, perform sentiment analysis, determine severity, and even generate a summarized understanding of the issue. Based on that analysis, the workflow can automatically route the requests to the appropriate team, trigger SLA escalations for urgent cases, and notify management when necessary. The outcome is faster resolution times, reduced backlog, and improved customer satisfaction, while still maintaining full governance and auditability. The second scenario focuses on procurement and vendor management. Organizations receive large volumes of invoices, contracts, proposals, and procurement documents in different formats and structures, and traditionally employees spend significant time extracting information manually and validating compliance requirements. With K2 Intelligence, AI can automatically extract key fields, classify document types, identify compliance indicators, and highlight potential risks or anomalies. The workflow layer then orchestrates approvals, exceptions handling, and escalation processes automatically. This is not only improves operational efficiency, but also helps to reduce risk exposure and strengthen compliance controls. And finally, the third example is HR and employee services, also one of the most popular processes automated in K2. Employee requests often arrive through emails, forms, or service portals and still require manual categorization and routing. So using AI-assisted understanding K2 Intelligence can recognize employee intent, categorize requests automatically, and even suggest responses or next actions. Workflows can then assign tasks to the correct department, trigger approval chains, and keep employees updated throughout the process. The result is faster turnaround time, better employee experience, and more consistent service delivery. So now, an important point here is the comparison shown at the bottom of the slide. Traditionally, automation primarily focuses on moving tasks from one step to another, but it still relies heavily on humans to interpret meaning and validate the content. K2 Intelligence introduces a different approach, one where workflows can actually understand content context, extract meaning, and support decision-making in a governed and auditable way. This is especially important for organizations dealing with large volumes of unstructured information, such as documents, emails, forms, and customer communications. And because these capabilities are integrated directly into the Nintex automation platform, organizations can combine AI understanding with enterprise integrations, monitoring, and security controls. So this aligns very strongly with modern enterprise requirements around AI system development. Let's now switch to the other slides. Another slide, please. Yes, and as organizations begin adopting AI capabilities within business processes, one of the biggest concerns is no longer whether AI is powerful enough. I think everyone understands that it's much more powerful than humans being, but whether it can be trusted, governed, and securely integrated into enterprise environments. And this is exactly where K2 Intelligence differentiates itself. So K2 Intelligence was designed not simply as an AI add-on, but as an enterprise-ready AI capability embedded within the Nintex automation platform. The first area highlighted here is governance and auditability. In enterprise environments, especially when the company belongs to regulated industry and public sector organizations, every automated action must remain traceable and controllable. And K2 Intelligence here supports end-to-end workflow tracing, role-based access controls, approval governance, and full audit trails. So organizations maintain visibility into how AI-assisted decisions are made, who approved actions, and how workflows evolve over time. This allows AI to operate within established governance and compliance frameworks rather than outside of them. The second area is structured AI outputs. One of the major challenges with generative AI is unpredictability. Traditional AI integrations often return unstructured responses that are difficult to validate or integrate back into enterprise workflows. And K2 Intelligence addresses this through structured and typed outputs using schema-driven approaches. This means AI responses can be transformed into deterministic workflow data, for example, predefined classifications, confidence-based routing, severity indicators, or structured extraction fields. As a result, AI becomes much more reliable and usable inside business-critical automation processes. The third area is hybrid and on-premises AI deployment. Many organizations today have strict requirements around privacy and security environments, the data, and K2 Intelligence supports deployment models that align with those enterprise requirements, including hybrid and on-premise scenarios. This allows organizations to run AI capabilities closer to their data while maintaining security controls and regulatory alignment. This becomes especially important for industries, as I said before, such as government, finance, healthcare, energy, and other highly regulated sectors. And finally, the fourth area is enterprise integration. K2 Intelligence is not isolated from enterprise systems. It becomes part of the broader automation ecosystem, and organizations can integrate AI-driven workflows with ERP systems, CRM platform, databases, APIs, document repositories, and external services using this same integration framework already available within Nintex Automation. This allows AI insights to drive actual operational actions across the enterprise. So now the key message is that enterprise AI adoption requires more than just AI models. It requires security, monitoring, human-in-loops control, scalability, and centralized governance. And this is where workflow orchestration becomes extremely important. So K2 Intelligence, finalizing, combines AI understanding with governed enterprise workflows, enabling organizations to adopt AI safely while preserving operational control and compliance requirements. So I'm now handing it over back to Eckhart to continue the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andre, for that deep dive into what is available with K2 Services or K2 Intelligence. I'm just going to quickly do a recap comparing with Nintex Workflow Cloud, where it is essentially cloud first, AI assisted content understanding, essentially where K2 comes in with enterprise controlled AI augmented orchestration that is built into the platform and available with a locally hosted AI engine. So you don't necessarily require external APIs or cloud dependency from a K2 perspective. So AI runs essentially inside the customer's environment. So all of the concerns as stated with compliance and secure regulated customers, that is where Nintex K2 Intelligence comes into play. This brings me to the next question that a lot of customers might have. Maybe they have Nintex Workflow Cloud, maybe they have Nintex K2, or maybe they're considering. The question is, how do we transition? So we've covered the current state of document heavy workflows and data heavy workflows, the noise, the manual effort. As we can see here, we're pulling our hairs out because all of this data, it's just a lot of manual work that is still being done by users and by humans. And the question essentially is, how do we get into a state where everybody is calm, everything is under control, people can actually take leave, we can actually step away and allow the automation to go into the next level. Let us explain you a little bit what we do. How do we transition? What do we do to enable this for our customers? So essentially the first phase is start small. Begin by automating data extraction using Nintex AI actions and intelligent document processing. Let AI pull vendor names, totals, dates, and PO references automatically. Remember, K2 and Nintex Workflow Cloud already have integrations into your existing systems like SharePoint, your ERP, your CRM systems. So surface that data into the workflow process and essentially let the built-in AI help you to automate at least data extraction and have monitor the exception volumes, but you still keep the human in the loop for manual approvals. This is the low risk, so the process doesn't change too much, but it's a very small step in the right direction of embedding AI into your organization. If we look at the second phase, that is where we layer in AI assisted decisioning. AI flags anomalies like missing POs, duplicate invoices, and out of range totals. Dynamic routing based on confidence scores means humans only handle exceptions. For example, only invoices over 50,000 K or low confidence extractions reach a finance manager. Here we can already see that the noise starts dropping significantly. Then we go to the next phase, and this is the calm optimized state. This is where we want to get out at. So AI informs routing, prioritization, SLAs, end-to-end. Human review outcomes, not raw documents.
Okay.
The shift is from process-driven workflows that simply route tasks to content-aware workflows that understand documents and data. Trust and compliance are built in through human-in-the-loop controls, audit trails, and enterprise governance, not bolted on afterwards. Start small, build confidence, and scale intelligently. That brings me to, I want to bring the example that we used where we built a simple service desk use case in Nintex Workflow Cloud, but now we want to see how do we plug that in to the service desk use case that is currently available to users. So if we look at a traditional service desk system, a ticket is logged via email, a web app, or it comes in via API integration, and a workflow is initiated, and the data is then basically sent to a service desk agent. He has to open either his email or work list. He has to review the ticket, and the human responds with a decision. How can K2 Intelligence help here? So first of all, we can basically take the workflow process and optimize it by plugging in the K2 Intelligence. So this is a before state. If we look at the workflow process, this is a workflow process that a lot of our customers might have already. It's a very simplistic workflow. So we get the data, we create the ticket in the database, we give it a reference number, we update the reference number in the database, and we send it for review. So now it's up to the user to rely on his work list and then on his email to basically have a look at the data and have a look at this service ticket, and then he has to make up his mind. So in this case, there's a German ticket that came in, and from my limited knowledge of German, I don't know if this is an angry request or a happy request, or what should I do here. So how can we plug in K2 Intelligence? Let's have a look at that. So with K2 Intelligence, there comes a local hosted AI framework that can do sentiment analysis and language detection. That means the review of the ticket, we simply add, translate this ticket for me and give me the ticket sentiment analysis of this ticket. What does this user actually want? But we can also go and see if this this agent, when he reviews the ticket, he makes maybe a comment and sends it for rework. We can have a look at the comment, analyze the comment, and see how does this agent actually respond to this use case or to this service desk. And then we can basically let AI just decorate the data for us. And here we can see with minimal effort, we can see the language and sentiment. So yes, language is German. The sentiment is positive. Well, that is good. So then it gives us also the reason. So this is actually a polite request, maybe direct, but it's very polite, and there's no negative or neutral sense in this request. And that we can plug in, for instance, into the reference number already. So essentially, before we just had the service ticket with a date reference number, where we can just augment that and say this ticket, the initial request was fairly positive, but it was German. So we could actually start routing this ticket. In here, we could have a destination rule to say, okay, this is a German ticket routed to my German-speaking review agents. So this is where we can see with minimal effect, we can actually start plugging in and following that recipe of those 3 phases. Start small. You've got your workflows. Take the K2 Intelligence, upgrade your environment into 5.9.1, and then you plug in this AI with the data that you have. It doesn't go outside of the boundaries of your organization. So that is immensely powerful. So you essentially take smaller steps to improve your overall performance of your workflows. So your workflows that you do have become more intelligent. So this brings us to the end. I hope you guys have found some value. Let's have a look if there are any questions that we can maybe answer, time permitting, and then also take note of the contact details on the screen. If you need any Nintex assessments, training services or consultations done, please feel free to reach out. Are there any questions that we can maybe take?
It seems we have no questions at this point, Eckhart. I believe this is available on 5.9.1 as you had mentioned. So if you need to upgrade an environment, please reach out. We will gladly assist you. And yeah, then I'm going to thank everyone for the session. Thank you, Andre and Eckhart, for hosting us today. And then yeah, have a splendid morning. I will give you a few minutes back in your day then.
Thank you very much.